Right, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, should we get rid of spotters? Just generally?
Well, shit, yeah, just get rid of them. Why not? Pay us. Welcome to the Money Lap. I'm kidding. I kind of look up mid-taco bite. You don't know disappointment. Talking all things motorsports by two real drivers.
I appreciate being called a gritty driver.
With many, many years of experience.
We've had to do that other people didn't want to do.
The most dedicated host in the motorsports podcast world.
Weren't we supposed to have somebody come on our show as a guest?
No, we did it.
Did we?
Yes.
Yes, for our 1 year anniversary.
And we definitely know what we're doing. Remember, talk through your mic.
I'm talking past it like this.
Well, if you just pointed it differently. Like, never mind. Never mind.
Oh,
Never mind.
Let's
the
talk about
standards
race
mic.
cars. God's
This
sakes.
is our worst show ever. Welcome to Money Lap. I'm Parker Kligerman, joined as always by my buddy Landon Cassill. We're going to talk all things racing, including NASCAR's new race in San Diego, which is Spanish.
Do you know
for
what that means?
Well, yeah.
I wasn't going to say it, but
Somebody had to say it.
Saint Diego.
Saint Diego. Oh, man.
Anyways, we have to brush up on some Anchorman before we go to...
I know. Please insert that clip. It's the greatest. I love Anchorman. One of the greatest movie series. I'm also just a fan of everything Will Ferrell. I actually met some people who didn't think he was that funny recently, and I was just, they were quite young, and I was like, no, you don't understand. You don't get it. You just don't get it.
Speaking of old time funny guys that are making a comeback, and probably who knows if the young crowds like them or not. The Happy Gilmore 2 coming out this weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can judge me all you want, bad parent, whatever, because I have 3 kids under 10. But somehow the Cassill family has been watching Happy Gilmore, all of them, and they love it. So
that's awesome. I love that movie. I watched it as a kid.
Great.
I definitely watched it as a
Adam
kid.
Sandler, man.
Oh, I know.
The classic.
I have a bit of a connection to that movie. So LA Golf is associated with it, and I believe so, or they were. I can't remember. And my buddy's sister, who's a good friend of mine, was kind of involved with that. She actually walked into a meeting at one point. Now I'm probably blowing up her spot, but she walked in some meeting with her boss, and Adam Sandler was in the room. She was just like, "Oh, hi."
Oh.
Oh
my gosh, that's awesome.
And then I was hoping my buddy, who's her brother, is an actor. I was hoping he'd get a part in it. I don't know if he got it or not. I know he tried out for it. So,
guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if he pops up in the movie. I think he would have mentioned it to me, and I think he probably told me the result of it all. But
You just don't remember?
I don't remember.
Let's go with no then. I feel like it would be
No.
memorable if...
And he's going to hear this and now be really disappointed in me.
He's like, dude, I was in the movie. I told you. I was so excited. We celebrated it. We went out to dinner to celebrate. Don't you remember?
Yeah, it was awesome. Oh, man. We mentioned the Cup Series San Diego. We've got some F1 rumors out there as well. And a little bit of IndyCar news that we'll dive into. But let's start with NASCAR. Actually, before we go there, we took last week off. We apologize. And I would just want to say a little bit of a public announcement. We are in the throes of summer. So historically at Money Lap, we do take weeks off. And just to give a full disclosure, I am going away. So I'm not, this Indianapolis.
Right. It wasn't our actual summer break.
No, it wasn't. But we do this occasionally in summer. I've noticed we get pretty haphazard in the summer. So after Indy, which is this coming weekend, I don't work TV for like a month, and I'm actually going away. So,
gosh,
we'll do a couple more
break,
but we'll have a week off, or 2 weeks, I think, in August is what the plan was. Yeah. So we apologize if you're a consistent listener. We'll do our best to keep you up to date on what those dates are, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But just know we get a little murky right now. But once we get past August, we're back in school, Landon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
School schedule will definitely chain us down a little bit. At least me in the Cassill household.
Yeah. That works for you. I actually asked Shannon the other day, I go, hey, when does school start again? And she was like, you just really have no concept of
It's a dangerous
normal
question
families.
to ask, man.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, well, okay. Yeah.
You got balls. All right.
I was just
Saint
curious.
Diego.
Yeah, so we're going racing. Cool video to announce it. We kind of knew this was happening. I'd heard about the Navy base. I think I said it on this show a couple weeks ago. So, if you heard it here, you heard it here first. It was a cool video to announce that. They did have like a version of the track, but I don't think that's exactly what we'll use because Bob Pockers put out there that they will be evaluating a couple track options through iRacing, just like Chicago.
Mhm.
But that's gonna be cool, right there on the water. That's gonna be a lot of fun. 250th birthday for America and the U.S. Navy. I think it's gonna be a really
Pretty
cool
cool.
event in all three series: Cup, Xfinity, and trucks. So I was already talking to my truck team. We want to race in it. So hopefully
That's
I'll be there.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's a long trip.
Have you ever been out to San Diego?
I have. Yeah, I'm going out there. I think in January, December or January this year.
I went there one time and I filmed this show for Red Bull Air Race on NBCSN, and I actually took a ride in like one of the Red Bull Air Race planes and like flipped around and everything. That's pretty
crazy.
cool. Yeah, it was a cool experience to be in
I
San Diego for that.
I think I've really only been there once, maybe twice. We did a kind of on a West Coast swing. We made a stop in San Diego between Phoenix and Fontana. My wife and I stayed in Encinitas, which Encinitas was better than San Diego. That was two totally different big city experience versus small beach town. But we enjoyed the small beach town a little better than than San Diego. But
Yeah, that's normal.
yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be really cool. I mean, I love the just the framing around the whole thing with on the naval base, 250th anniversary. It just feels well thought out, well planned, well executed. Give Chicago
really cool.
a break.
Yep.
For a year, maybe come back. I mean, they talked about potentially coming back to Chicago, but
Yeah.
I think NASCAR put themselves in a good position where this could be a one-time thing, and there's nothing wrong with it. Right?
No, it's super cool. And I think the Chicago,
if it's a one-time thing, nothing wrong with that. If
and
we go
for
back,
Chicago, well, yeah, and for Chicago, I think the idea is that the city wanted like late August. NASCAR wants to keep it in the summer, so they're trying to find what the happy medium is for both sides. But it's been so successful, and and I don't know if it's just a one-time thing in San Diego. That's awesome. That's what the point of street course races is, but super cool. And I mean, just back to the whole precedent of what I believe started with the Roval in what was that 2017, 2018, where it's this idea of like when that happened, it was just it opened up the aperture for NASCAR to be like, well, what else could we do?
Yeah.
And to not be afraid of it and to just try different and boom, it's worked. So
yeah,
I love it. Very, very cool. There was a lot of stuff that went down the lawsuit with 2311 and Front Row last week. We're not lawyers once again, so we won't dive into that. But NASCAR did update the rulebook to state that they can limit race entries to 40 teams with open teams based on owner standings, essentially locking those teams in of 2311 and Front Row who
isn't
when
that
they're racing
interesting?
unchartered. Well, I think it's they can't now. They're in no danger, so they don't need a charter.
So is it like is do you think NASCAR clearly is doing this like strategically?
Oh yeah,
and so it's just that's so interesting to me. I don't know what is the motivation there to then further drive home to the courts that the teams aren't facing irreparable damage by not having charters because they're not at threat of missing a race? Or does it make the race teams case that like it's a monopoly and NASCAR can do whatever they want? NASCAR give it, NASCAR take it away.
Not lawyer, Landon. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It would be really something if this ends up being like some kind of unforced error. So I don't think that that's the case. I think NASCAR. I don't know. It's so.
What I go back
wild
to?
times we're living in.
You know what I constantly go back to this? Though at the end of the day, there's two entities that are getting very wealthy off this.
Yeah, the law firms.
The law firms.
Yeah, it's generally who
and
wins.
I mean, it's once again, I think Denny, refused to talk about it this past weekend for good reason, obviously. And I think shout out to our one listener, by the way. he was on the post race show post Dover, which we'll dive into. And I mentioned I listened to his podcast, and he said he listens to our show. So,
What's up,
really
Denny?
nice. Yeah. Hey, Denny. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being our sole listener. I think the what he said though that was interesting was he was like, it'll all come out December 1st. And it just makes me think that there is some things that they want to get out into the public that will happen when it goes to trial, right? And I think that's where obviously that's where they feel their case will be made, or whatever. So
but I know this is a little out of order that's in our show notes here.
yeah, Jesus, what are you doing?
But I want to talk about Denny before we talk about the Mark Martin stuff. So Denny's life is a freaking roller coaster.
It is, man. It is.
How does he do it?
Do it.
And I know he's listening, so I'm totally fine saying this stuff, knowing that he's listening and we're talking about him. But like, one thing that's so crazy with Denny is he's an incredibly talented race car driver. He thrives in chaos. He does his best in chaos. And we've seen this over the course of his career, right? Like when he's under the gun in contract negotiations, or he's losing his sponsor, or his the public has made its way into his personal life, or vice versa. And then now you have this lawsuit stuff where it's just like when the things going on off the track with Denny seem like they couldn't be any worse or or at least just chaotic, right? Like good, bad, or indifferent. Just he ends up rising even higher behind the wheel, it seems like. And then I don't want to just throw him under the bus and say the flip side. It's almost like when the off track focus and narrative with Denny is about racing, it's you don't get those like shining moments as much as when it's just pure chaos. Because he will just, when it's pure chaos, Denny will come out of nowhere and win a race, right?
Yeah.
Or dominate a race. Or what was the one we texted him? Was it Martin's or no? What race was it earlier this year where it was just like, God, the guy freaking accidentally won a race?
Oh,
what race was it earlier this year where it was just like he ran 7th all day and then won, and it was like in the middle of all this going on.
That's right.
I can't remember. Was it even Martinsville? Maybe.
No, he dominated Martinsville. Dominated.
Yeah, I don't know. I just that's something about him that's in his brain. I don't know if like that's where the race car is his safe place, and he can just get in the car and he's more that contrast between what's happening off the track and the chaos of what's happening off the track. And then when he gets in the car and puts his helmet on, there's maybe there's like just a total flip of the switch where it ends up being he's even more comfortable and even more relaxed and even more driven for success, whatever it may be. We've talked, and this isn't the first time I pointed this out with you, and we've talked about this. Like we've talked about this all the time.
Yeah, we have. I'm listening. I'm trying to look up what that race was real quick.
Yeah, I remember what it is. And he's also peaking, like he's peaking right now at an age that is this the age when drivers peak? I mean, he's kind of
he's moved it later. He's 44 years old.
Yeah, he has moved it later, but like how old is Harvick right now?
You're testing my knowledge. Google it. ChatGPT. Here.
Kevin Harvick.
Oh yeah, we don't have Josh this week.
Harvick is 49. Yeah, we don't have Josh.
49 right now.
Harvick's 49. So if I just go back and think about the Rodney Childers, Budweiser number 4 days of Kevin Harvick when he was just seemed unstoppable, kind of in that early 40s.
Yeah.
So Harvick kind of moved the needle a little bit. I think Denny is striking right now. I know you made a comment that didn't you bring this up to Denny, and he just is like, yeah, man, he was terrified going into the season, not knowing how it was going to be with the new crew chief, and everything going on. And he's sort of just enjoying it because it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. It's literally what he said in the post race. I basically just asked him, I was like, at his, I was just like, are you surprised that you are possibly at the top of your game at this stage in your career? And he went into that. He was pretty open about this all season. He was a little worried. And he's like, I don't know.
Right.
This is going to continue. And I think you hear it on his podcast. He has moments of reflection where he will say like, well, we'll see how long it lasts, where he's kind of like, I think he is slightly surprised. And I don't know. I think it goes back to some of the things we talk about with a lot of successful drivers, especially in NASCAR, where sometimes they're just really good stock car drivers. And there's moments in time where great stock car drivers or good stock car drivers are great stock car drivers when they just have that mix of like experience, understanding, work ethic, correct preparation, right? And they use all the tools correctly. And, one of the things I find astonishing about him, and I said this to him because he had changed suits in the red flag at Dover because he was, it was so hot and sweaty there. We were just pouring sweat underneath our suit jackets, by the way, Jay McMurray and I. It was like absolutely disgusting. And I was like, man, I'm surprised you never sweat. And he's like, I never sweat. I was like, he gets out these race cars. Like when you look at when he wins Michigan, which I think that might be the one where we text him, by the way, Michigan, or any of these tracks. And he gets out and it's like he did not just compete for 3.5 hours in a super hot race car. Like,
do you think I mean, I know you just talked about how he doesn't sweat, but everybody sweats. Do you think he put a fresh suit on because of the weight?
I don't know.
Think about
he
how
does
much
think
lighter
like that.
A fresh suit would be.
He did go and watch some stuff in his bus that he wouldn't admit what it was, but I got to think that he possibly went and watched some of the restarts.
I don't want to know what he watched.
Well, yeah, thanks. I think he went and watched some of these restarts from earlier in the race and when the track wasn't rubbered up and probably wanted to know, or the start of the race and wanted to know what happened.
Yeah.
Could the top win, that sort of thing. So
a fresh suit is probably like 2 pounds lighter than 3 pounds lighter than a sweaty suit, wouldn't you say?
That's smart. That's really smart. So also my light has died here. It just totally shut off. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. My light has gone awry at the moment and decided to just lower itself. We've got all sorts of issues today. But
so then the transitioning to other, similarly accomplished old-time drivers that went late into their career. Denny is not that late into his career yet, even in his 40s. But you've got Mark Martin in your notes. This is me getting us back on track.
Okay.
Take
Thanks.
that where you want.
Yeah, go. Well, I don't know if you saw this, but it was a bit of a discussion on social media the last couple of days where all the best topics for the podcast world come from. And that was that Mark Martin has kind of wanted the playoffs. He's not been a big fan of the playoffs. And
he's been pretty vocal in the last
pretty
couple
vocal
days
about it. And Daniel Trotta and Larry Mack kind of had some comments about that on SiriusXM and defending the playoffs and that sort of thing. And I feel like we have this discussion, once a month in the NASCAR world at this point for the last 15 years.
Have we really discussed it on this show?
I think we have. I think we've gone into it. I want to know, what is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on traditional points format versus playoffs before I give mine?
I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a typical Landon.
Don't argue with sides. Pick your side.
I'm going to talk out of. I don't know if I want to pick a side because I think two things can be right at the same time. I think I love the playoffs. I see nothing wrong with our playoff system, right? I love it. It's entertaining. I'm interested in it. It adds value to my viewing experience. But the reason I'm going to say two things can be right at the same time, and the where I would come in and stand on Mark's side of this argument, and I don't know if this is if this is the root of Mark's argument or not, because Mark might be Mark's argument might simply be, I don't like the playoffs and I like the traditional format. But my sort of articulation of the traditional format that Mark is coming from, a season-long points championship, has less to do with which one is more entertaining and more to do with has NASCAR hurt itself over the last 3 decades, right? Not even last decade or 2 decades, last 3 decades, by not just sticking to its core values, right? Like, look at baseball. Baseball hasn't changed hardly at all in 100 years. I mean, they've added some of the video stuff, which is like the most controversial. I mean, and really the most controversial thing they've changed is the pitch clock in the last couple of years. I mean, maybe some real baseball fans can chime in and add to what else has been changed and modernized in the sport. But the core of baseball, at least even my perception as a casual baseball fan, my perception of the sport is it hasn't changed much, right? And it's still rooted in tradition. And you go to these fields even, right? Like Wrigley Field is you feel like you're in a throwback, like just the decor, the design. It's just not a sport that's modernized, right? And there's something lasting about that. And I wonder, and that's my support of Mark's argument, is like, maybe we didn't need to change anything. Maybe race cars are just cool, right? And the flow, the TV, the demands are going to go like this, and marketing's going to change, and social media is going to change things, and streaming is going to come and go, and cable is going to come and go, and fan bases are going to come and go. But as long as you just stick to who you were when the thing blew up in the 80s and the 90s, and you don't change who you are, you're going to make it, right? And NASCAR changed who they were, right? They became a playoff sport. They became, they went from season long reward to, win and you're in, and really short term benefits. And, again, I'm entertained, right? It's entertaining to me, but as an identity, who are we? What is racing? What is NASCAR? Is that the right thing or not? I don't know. That's my angle and my support for what Mark is saying. Maybe Mark would be like, Landon, you're a freaking idiot. It's stupid. Playoffs suck. It's not entertaining, and I'm not entertained. Okay, that's fine. Like that. It's probably, maybe that is what he's saying, but my support of Mark is more rooted in tradition, and I do think that there's some lost equity in that because we have changed so much about our sport.
That's beautifully said. Wow. Well, first off, there's a lot of people who listen to this, or mostly on social media, I would think, that if I were to say, I love the playoffs, like you just did, they're going to say, oh, shill, paid by NASCAR, blah, blah, blah. Hey, to all of you, F off. And my point being, that's not my thought process at all. I see both sides. I obviously loved NASCAR of old, and I think you can see that in F1, which is a season-long traditional format. IndyCar, season-long traditional format, right? But what I think is unique about racing is that all those people that are like, well, I want it the way it was. Guess what? It still wouldn't be the way it was, because this is one of the most dynamic sports in the world. And to your point about baseball in the last 100 years is essentially the same game. Football is essentially the same game. Soccer is the same game. But no matter what we try to do with racing, at some point it was going to evolve, and that's because the cars, the mechanics, the engineering, the tires, everything changes, the track design, so on and so forth. And so it's possibly one of the most dynamic, if it is the most dynamic sport in the world in that sense, and ever changing, right? And it's not anything you can stop. And the whole idea of like the format in which you compete and win the championship, to me, I'm of the thought process like you, which is that when I've been a part of broadcasting these races or just watching, it definitely ups my attention, and it increases my fandom in a lot of respects, because I'm like, ooh, those people are on the cutoff. Having experienced it personally in the whole, cutoff race, winning you're in scenario, it was the coolest experience I ever had as a race car driver, because it made a race that without it, I would have been 9th in points. Yes, I would have won. That'd been cool. But the gravity and the weight of winning that race at the Roval last year would have gone on for another 3 weeks and give me a chance at a championship. And it almost was like a championship race and a championship level performance that I needed with 6 or 7 races to go in a season. Right.
Mhm.
And I think that part has been really, really, really cool. Do I see the merits of the idea of like the old traditional format and the old like on the circuit and every race sort of adds up, right? Yes. But I think in the modern day, and since we've done this, it's like, well, shit, I don't think you can go back because it would just seem wildly boring. In race 21 at Dover, that nothing really is up for grabs. Yeah, there's a bit of a championship, tussle at the top, but it would just seem like, what are we talking about here, right? And especially if there's a boring race, it's going to feel excruciating to watch. So I don't think, had they not done this, would it have kept fans around versus not? I don't know. And I don't care because I don't think they'd be here anyway. And the biggest thing is NASCAR's biggest problem in the last 15 years was it didn't get young people interested in it.
Mhm.
I don't think your championship format did or did not get them interested. Didn't matter, right? That was not stopping them from watching. It was more about branding, culture, all those different things, right?
Right.
Changing culture, social media, whatever. And so my point of going, talking about this basically from both sides is like, this is where it's at. I can appreciate the past. I do find it unfortunate that you can't really relate to the past in some respects, which I think was an unintended consequence of what they did, where relating Dale Earnhardt's 7 championships to Jimmy Johnson's is tough. To, a championship won now in this format is even tougher to really compare, right?
Right.
It's tough to say that would have been the case anyway with how the sport changed and, the idea of how the cars changed and all the technology and the engineering changed and that sort of stuff, which you can't stop any of that because this is a sport that has to keep up with modern day technology. And it's even if you tried to say, stop, time out, we're not going to continue, people would, and they already did when they tried to stop it. So
so gun to
stopping
your head.
technology is not, hold on, one last point.
Go.
Let me finish on this. Let me put a bow on this. My last part to all of this is that, do I think there's possibly a slight tweak that would make it a more legitimate championship in the eyes of the people who don't like this format for some reason, which I think they would have found something else to not like, to be honest. And they keep tuning in, so that's fine if they're talking about it. But the idea that a championship comes down to one race does bother me. If that was 3 races like we talked about last year, I'd feel better about it, right? I think handing out a championship year-long trophy for one race on which all the competitors can race at the same time that aren't a part of the championship and can affect that championship is an odd design choice and probably would be the one tweak I would make to it. All the other stuff, I think it's cool. I think it's different, and I think it's NASCAR's thing compared to IndyCar and F1 and everything else you see in racing. It's the only one that does it in that sense, and I think it's been a smart thing for them to do.
Why does it not feel right in NASCAR, but it does in other sports?
Because they don't all play at the same time on the same field. So it feels weird to people to have a championship race and a championship scenarios happening within the context of a whole nother race, right? And there's people that say, well, it devalues races, that sort of thing. Like, did Dover this weekend really matter for some of the guys? And you can make an argument one way or the other. I think it still matters. I've actually heard, I won't blow up his spot because I don't know if he'd want this to be public or not. I was having a conversation this weekend with someone where I asked him, would you be a 100th place golfer or a 25th place cup driver? And he, of course, picked the golfer for a variety of reasons, including one of the reasons I've always talked about is like they can choose their schedule. And he said, all these people that have a problem with this playoff format and the championship format, he's like, one thing I would allow is, hey, you don't have to show up to every race. He's like, make the race tracks work to get the biggest stars there. And I was like, that's a fascinating thing. I don't think that's going to happen, but I thought it was a fascinating way to look at it.
That's an interesting point. So I made my cases, you made your cases. You and I are both comfortably sitting on the fence. So gun to your head, you have to choose which way do you want it.
If I'm
the way we have it now, or dial it back to 1999.
See, it's
You had
tough.
to choose one. No alterations. We either continue down what we're doing right now with the current rules, the current format, or you and Mark Martin head back to 1996, and it's everything there. What else? You have to snap your fingers and make a
I'm
decision
gonna watch
now.
race cars no matter what, so I would say go back to the old one. So then it's not a discussion point.
It was my same. I had the same answer, right?
Really?
And I didn't know if that was going to surprise. It's like because I opened the whole thing saying I love the playoffs. I am
Same.
thoroughly entertained. I will say I think that stage breaks is one that I'm like I think is I don't like stages,
Yeah,
but the playoff system yes, I got a million different ways I could do it, and I'll debate with you and whoever wants to talk about it, the aspects of it that are dumb or aren't dumb or whatever. But I'm entertained by the playoff system. But if I had to choose, I would prefer the classic way because I think that I don't know. I think I'm a sucker for tradition. And so I love that about sports and things that just have just timeless formatting, right?
There is one thing I didn't bring up, which is a great data point in that there is sufficient and concrete data that like the cutoff races and the way the format works does increase viewership in those races.
Yes.
So if people are wondering if it if it hurt or helped, the data says it probably helped, and the natural decline would have occurred regardless. If you want to look at it from a data perspective, which I think in that point, then it's just it's a small subsection of vocal fans who want the old way, but it doesn't really. That's not the case in terms of the data.
Yeah, that's it's a hard decision to make. I mean, speaking of hard decisions,
what's that?
So you want young race fans? My young race fans in my house just got a shipment of diecast from SpoilerDiecast.com. If you're a race fan, you've got to check out SpoilerDiecast.com. These guys are crushing it. The best in the business. They're one of the fastest growing diecast and racing merch companies out there, and for good reason, because they ship same or next day, which I can personally validate because our shipment got went out. And I did this like totally, there was no special treatment, or actually I didn't even use the promo code.
How dare you?
I know, it's so stupid. Your order is sitting in limbo forever, and they have a massive selection. 1,900 products in stock, mostly NASCAR, but they've got dirt, sprint cars, IndyCar, and even F1. We ordered like 8, I think, IndyCar 64 scales. Handful of drivers. We got Connor Daly, Ed Carpenter, Scott Dixon, Renus VK. No, we didn't get Renus VK. Alex Pillow. Trying to think of who else we got. I don't know. The boys wanted IndyCars this week, so we got IndyCars.
I love it.
They are offering free shipping on any orders over $100. You get a free NASCAR shirt of a random driver. Just comment your size in the order notes. I can't believe it. I read this ad every single week, and I didn't do it.
It's because we took a week off.
I know. But yeah, so comment your size in the notes. You'll get the free shirt and the free shipping if your order's over $100. Whether you're hunting down a rare piece or just looking to rep your favorite driver, go to SpoilerDiecast.com. Use code MONEYLAP. Take advantage of the free shipping and the diecast while it lasts. And thank you guys for the shipment.
SpoilerDiecast.com. Get all your diecast and merchandise needs there. They're the best. And people may wonder, by the way, how we can just take weeks off when we feel like it. Well, we don't work for anyone but ourselves, which is the beauty of Money Lap, by the way. We answer to no one, and we have badass partners like Spoiler Diecast who let us make our own schedule and decide when we want to show up, when we don't. So we basically got the greatest situation ever. In the vast array of shows out there, podcast, we're independent. We're on our own, and we've been ardently independent for good reason. And part of it is that we want the ability to do it when we want to do it. So speaking of which, we have had trouble having a certain guest on throughout the last 2 years. And we often mention he's in the green room because he's actually there. And there was great evidence of this past weekend when Kyle Busch was asked in the media center about the idea of the rear view camera being removed, which Dale Jr. spouted off on the broadcast a couple weeks ago. And his response was, I think if you have the rear view camera, you don't get a spotter. If you don't have it, you get a spotter. I'll take a spotter. He's heard some of our spotter discussions, obviously, and has said that, with a rear view camera, you could possibly race without a spotter. So
that is a hell of a proposal. And I don't agree with that proposal at all, but it's so interesting. What would you choose? If that was NASCAR's deal, what would you choose?
Yeah, well, he said he would take a spotter. I'd take a spotter.
You would take a spotter?
Yeah, over the rear view camera, for sure.
I don't know if I would.
Oh,
that's
because
a tough one.
Well, see, like super speedway racing, I don't even use them for what's behind me. 90% of what spotter does for me, I would say, on super speedways is when I'm pushing someone, telling me what's happening in front. Like
I
how
think
close
that
the
you
car.
are underestimating how razor sharp, how much you rely on your mirrors for razor close clearances.
Yeah,
without
I'm
your
saying I
spotter.
do, but I think I'm just saying
I don't
would
know
choose
if
the
I could.
spotter.
Yeah, but see, in a super speedway, what's behind you is more important than what's in front of you. And I feel like the spotter
when you're
is
pushing.
incredible for telling you what's 3 car lengths and back from behind you, and maybe helping with that depth perception and the momentum. But like that, making that decision on a matter of inches on those blocks is, in my opinion, all done with the mirror.
Well, the blocks down the straightaways for sure, but my quick clear moments have always been I just listen to them. So like I took the lead at Daytona 2023. I'll never forget this because it was one of those like YOLO moments. I had a big run on the bottom, and maybe it was to second following this Trevor Bayne. I can't remember that part exactly, but I basically, if I don't clear myself up, I'm going backwards. There's no one on the bottom lane. And Brandon McReynolds, my spotter, is like, quick, top. And I just released the wheel, never looked in the mirror, and like rocketed to the wall. And when he launched it back, it was so tight. And I was like, after the race, I told him, I was like, hey man, you know how I know you and I are in sync? I never looked in the mirror once. You said top, I went top. And he's like, you could see it. Yep. So, and it kept us up there. And what did we finish that day? Third or something? I can't remember.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would take the spotter over the rear view camera. And I think in the next gen car, I think the next gen is, I think the rear view camera has been a cool addition in the technology side and that sort of stuff. But I think the part, and I believe Denny kind of went into this recently, which is our one listener, that with the arrow, with the way the arrow works in the next gen, where it's so super concentrated, that, and where you can sort of arrow block and do those, just make sure you're driving from them, which is incredibly tough with a rear view camera or not. And we've talked about this show in regards to like Ross Chastain doing it, and how good he is. But I think the thing with the rear view camera is it just makes that even easier a little bit. And it's like, well, in the nature of stock car racing, where we try to keep the human as involved as possible. And that's really, to me, the ethos and the mission behind the decision making of how NASCAR stock cars are kind of decided upon, what their build is. I think it kind of is in conflict with that. And so if you were to remove them, I wouldn't be sad to see him go.
So what's your final call?
Spotters. No rear view camera.
All right, now then let's say, I think maybe this is what you just said, but if you had your choice, are we gonna start this? We gonna have this conversation again? You have your choice: spotters, mirrors, no mirrors, spotter. What would you
it's
like
no
to
rear view
see?
camera. I don't know about the mirror will still be there. We're talking about the rear view camera.
Right, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, should we get rid of spotters? Just generally?
Well, yeah, just get rid of them. Why not? Pay us. I'm kidding.
I would love to see.
I'm kidding, spotters. I'm kidding.
I love the spotters in our sport. I just think that the racing would be better without them.
Oh, I wholly
Without
believe that.
without their competition related communication.
I 100% believe that. I think you would have
More
super speedway
passing.
racing would be wild without them.
Right.
And it already is. So it's like, why not just make it wilder? So
Yeah.
speaking of spotters, do you know there's a young driver who has now ripped off wins at road courses, a triangle, and finally an
Got his
oval,
first win on an oval.
Dover? That is Connor Zilisch. He was my spotter at Chicago last year in turn 10. He's the only spot I've ever had who's gone on to be the absolute phenom that he is. He already was. But he,
Man, I'm trying to think if I've had a spotter that was a better driver than me.
yeah. Whoa, I didn't say he was better. Whoa.
Brian Keselowski spotted for me.
I'm not. No.
I
He's a
love
good
Brian.
driver. He's not better than you. Yeah, that's been a weird experience where I'm like, wait, that guy spotted for me one time.
Yeah, he
he's incredible.
his duo with SVG and Sonoma, pretty incredible.
Good point. Thanks. You really ended on a high note there. Your
Sorry,
enthusiasm is palpable.
he's on a tear
No, he is. He's on a tear. It's unbelievable.
since his back injury.
No problem.
What,
He's 18 years old. He's made of Gumby. So
yeah, he's rubber cement. Like what? So he had a back injury. He's come back. I think his worst finish is like 4th.
It's something
Or
crazy
5th
like
or
that.
something. He's had like 7 consecutive top 5s.
He's everything. He's one of those few drivers that you've seen have a tremendous amount of hype and then live up to it in a lot of respects. And in some respects, I think even eclipse some of the hype. And so obviously it's early to say until he goes to Cup next year and, basically is against that level of competition. But man, I'd have to think there's been very seldom a driver's come along like this. And I know we've talked about it, but I was just talking to a young driver who's making his first stock car start this weekend and was asking me some advice, and he's come from the open wheel world and he's talked to Zilisch, they're friends. And I was like, man, what's so evident to me, and I know we've talked about it, is just what Zilisch is, what he will become for this sport is what Jeff Gordon was when everyone then decided they needed a USAC midget and sprint car driver. Every young kid who, with the right preparation and serious, the right family and that sort of stuff and supporters that can make it happen, who wants to become a NASCAR Cup Series driver, will drive road courses, open wheel cars, heavy stock cars, late model, dirt. They will do it all before the age of 20 and do it in vast amounts. And because the diversity of his skill set and adaptability and the, how open his window of operation is proving that, yes, he's an incredible talent, but I do not discredit, and I know Josh Wise has talked about how, this is like their prodigy template race car driver from the Wise program. To me, this is now the template. Like, you have to do all this stuff and be at his level if you want to make it in years to come. So
yeah, and Brett Cruz is the next one.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the next one on a similar format, right? It's driven dirt, it's driven road course, oval, all the stuff, all of the things.
It's
just
incredible.
Huge adaptability.
It's incredible. It's what it takes. And I go one step further to say, like, if you aren't driving open wheel cars at a young age, USF 2000, Formula Fords, late model stocks, like, drive it all, every bit of it, and get good and win in them. That is going to prepare you for the diversity of what is the NASCAR schedule now. And your window of operation is going to be so amazing that you can also, the way racing is connected, you can go the open wheel path, you can go the stock car path or sports car path, and you'll be prepared for any of them. So I really think it's the future. Speaking of future, Max Verstappen this week rumored to be leaving Red Bull to join Mercedes. This has been going on. There's been memes. There's been people tracking planes of him and Toto, but the rumors are gaining steam, and potentially we could find out as early as this coming weekend that he's joining Mercedes. In relation to that, possibly, we saw last week that Red Bull fired F1 team principal Christian Horner, which some suspected was maybe to keep Max Verstappen there, or it was a result of him losing Max Verstappen at Red Bull. Thoughts?
Well, it could be one or the other.
Hey, let's argue both sides.
Yeah, like what an incredible thesis.
We'll see. It is interesting. Where will Christian Horner resurface? Will he resurface at all? He's the type of guy that can't stay out
If
of the
there's
game.
one thing that's certain, Parker, we will know when we know.
Thanks. Come to the Money Lap for your most in-depth analysis on the motorsports world, where we dive into really concrete info, such as we'll know when you know.
What do you think it is? Do you think they've lost him? You think they've lost Max, and Horner was either?
I think it's a last-ditch effort to have kept him.
You think that they don't even have a guarantee? You think this was a last-ditch effort?
I think it was a last-ditch effort to keep him. And
so you think they could lose Max and Christian?
Yep. I think if you had already lost him, then you keep Christian because he has orchestrated that place to become what it is.
Right.
And if you felt you had a chance to keep him by getting rid of Christian, you did it. And now they've potentially maybe lost both. So
at least they still have a helmet, Marco.
Can someone get a mic in his face quick? We haven't had a good quote
from helmet on this one.
Yeah, get a. We need that helmet Marco comment ASAP. Speaking of other driver movements, Sergio Perez is being linked to the Cadillac F1 team. So is Valtteri Bottas. But
after the performance of the second Red Bull car this year, that is that's a great seat.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think it'd be cool. Help build that team. So that's two experienced drivers. There is a young and up and coming driver who we've actually talked about having on this show before. We just never put it together. He and I DM'd a couple times, but that is Jack Crawford, the F2 racer who won at Silverstone this year. He's won a few F2 races, is in competition for the championship, and is obviously an American. So would be cool if he were to get the opportunity to be a part of that. I don't know if he would in a race seat, looking at what they potentially are being linked to, which is experienced drivers, but if he has some affiliation at all, it'd be awesome. And, just shout out to Jack. He's crushing it over there. I did talk to some young drivers over here that know him well, and they were like, oh, yeah, no, that guy's legit. So he's legit fast. He's doing a great job overseas, and I hope he gets that chance with Cadillac. Even if he isn't in that first year, which maybe would be a smarter thing, being linked to that, continuing his development F2, and then coming in maybe when they're even a little better and more organized, I think it would be better yet. So I'd love to see it. Landon, where are you right now?
I'm in Iowa.
Well, what are you doing, bud? You're about to lose a big race in Iowa.
What are you talking about? IndyCar?
Yeah. Seems like they're not returning to Iowa.
Really?
Yeah. I saw some stuff. They sold about 6,000 to 8,000 tickets for the doubleheader this past race.
That was a headline for sure.
Yeah.
That crowd was.
No, it wasn't enough. Wasn't enough to keep them. Unfortunate because our boy Connor Daly was fast once again. He looked race winning fast, which he needs more ovals. So I hope they add ovals because our boy is going to get a win here at some of these ovals one of these days. He looked really good, but yeah, unfortunate because it's been so fun to watch there. The repay that they did last year, I think was unfortunate for IndyCar because it sort of changed it a little bit in how you race around there, but it still looked pretty competitive this past race. I watched bits and pieces, so I hope they find ovals like that. I think it was a great oval for them. It was really cool, and I hope for Connor's sake they find him.
Yeah. Gosh, it seems like a classic, IndyCar track at this point. They've been racing there for so long.
Yeah, that, and it's just like they don't have a lot of options, you know?
Right. I saw some highlights of IndyCar back when they raced at Dover over the weekend, though.
I don't think they need to do that.
Why
No.
not?
That every time I see that, it looks fake.
Right.
It looks weirdly fake. So,
Oh my God. Well, back to iRacing to figure out which track IndyCar should race at next.
yeah, let us know.
Slinger.
We'd like to know. Slinger. IRP. Just go to the
IRP.
small track.
You know what though? That would be legit.
Well, they do USF 2000 races around there.
Do they really?
Yeah, yeah. So they've done it. It'd be a little tight for Indy cars, but it's cool. The US 2000s is fun to watch. They're flying. They rip around there. Absolutely rip. Way
Jeez.
faster than I went in stock cars. Love that damn place. That's a good spot. I almost went and raced trucks there this year, but my team, Henderson Motorsports, we looked at it, but our team is full of older gentlemen that work on it. And I told Chris Carey, I was like, hey man, because of the way the way it works there, it's like you have to manually take in all of your pit box equipment and everything. You can't like load with haulers and that sort of stuff. You have to like do it by hand and through this huge hill, and it's very physically intensive. And I was like, we'll kill a guy on our team if we do that. He's like, you're right, we're not going. So the reason we're not at RP is we physically can't. So
Haulers are a long ways from the track there.
no, and it's just so physically intense, and it can be hot. And I was just like, we'll end up having a heart attack. I was like, we don't need to do that. Love those guys though. We'll be back at Watkins Glen. Looking forward to that. That's my next race. Let's talk. Let's make some picks. We got Cup and Xfinity at the proper big track at Indy, the main oval, and then we've got trucks at IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway. We've got Indy in Laguna Seca and F1 at Spa. So you got to make some picks.
Well,
you're asking ChatGPT?
No. Sorry, I was looking at something else. Cup at Indy, Ty Dillon.
Yep. Not only is he going to win $1 million, he's going to win the race to do it.
Yep. Trucks. I'm sorry, Xfinity at ORP, IRP, LOR.
No, they're at the big track.
Oh, Xfinity, yes. Xfinity at the big track. Shoot, why was my brain was thinking that they were at IRP because I was going to pick Quapple. But gosh, let's go with Connor Zilisch again. Although that's not, I don't know if that's a great pick. Is there? Wait, did I see Josh's pick? Is Kyle Larson in the field?
Yes.
All right, Connor Zilisch.
Trucks. IRP.
And what I was saying, I tripped over myself. You can age yourself based on whether you call it IRP, ORP, or LOR.
That's true. Yeah. O'Reilly Raceway Park.
Right.
Indy Raceway Park.
Or if you've been all three. I'm pretty sure I've raced at all three.
I think so too. I think I've raced all three versions.
Ty Majeski.
All right.
F1 Spa. Come on, Lewis. You can do it.
Get in
For
there.
God's sakes. I saw his tweet this week that said that he's never finished worse than fourth at Spa in his entire career.
Wow. This is his weekend. I've only picked him 100 times.
I know. I also saw, oh man, this was a topic that I meant to add for the show. I'll just say it now. I think I saw a hot take on Twitter that was like, when was the last time the likely F1 world champion was a non-superstar driver? And with all due respect to Piastri and Lando Norris, but like they're great drivers in their own respect. They're super famous and all those things, but like they're not in these heights of superstardom, like best in the world considered driver.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time the world champion was would it be Nico Rosberg?
Well, I mean, they were at top. Jensen Button, possibly.
Yeah.
When he was kind of, when that whole Braun thing happened. Yeah, post Honda leaving. I mean, it's tough to say because like if you're a guy who's been in F1 3 to 5 years, I mean, you are a superstar globally. You might not be here in America, but you definitely are globally.
Right.
You know.
Anyways, that was an interesting take. IndyCar, Laguna Seca. Ooh, Alex Plow.
I was gonna write it for you.
Why
Alex
not?
Below. Hey, you already picked it,
Kinda cool
so I
off,
now
though.
know your answer, but we didn't talk about the in-season challenge. It comes down to the two ties. Tyrone Dillon, also known as Ty Dillon, and Ty Gibbs. You're picking
Young
Ty
Ty
Dillon.
Dillon.
Take $1 million.
Young Ty. Young Ty Dillon.
That's funny. I'm rooting for Ty Dillon because I'm just like, hell yeah. The 32 seed to win the whole thing is
Oh,
so
yeah. The
funny.
whole thing is just absolutely. I
Uh,
truly think. Well, can we talk about it for a second? I
What's that?
truly think the in-season championship, a great thing. Loved it. First try at it. Lots of improvements to be made. Let's not do Atlanta right off the start.
I think it'll be different next year.
Yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion. Well, like Denny had a funniest comment. He's like, how easy would it have been for me to get to the final two, the championship round, considering that Ty Dillon beat him and then went on all the way through, finishing like 20th each week. It was pretty funny.
I hope he wins it.
I mean, Ty has definitely been the story. And you know what's funny? What I liked about it and what he's pulled off, and we said this on the post-race show this past weekend, was that, he's actually had like kind of a career run in the last 5-10 weeks. And we would have, been so hard to talk about and point out, that sort of thing. And because of this existing at the same time that he's been on this sort of career.
It's giving him the credit he deserves.
Yeah. Of like what he's pulling off. So
because
I think it's cool all around.
Well, he's underrated. Is he kind of underrated having the best cup season he's had in a long
he's
time?
close. Definitely this stretch right now is the best he's ever been in cup for sure.
Right.
For sure. So I'll make my picks. Cup, I'm going to I picked Denny Hamlin last weekend. He won because I'm smart like that. Who's going to win Indy? He definitely wants to win the Brickyard, but I think it's not going to be his weekend. It's going to be, it's a tough one. Indy, flat track. My heart says Kyle Busch. But I don't know. That's a tough one. It's not going to be Kyle. I feel like Larson gets back. It's Kyle Larson. He's been on a slump. He showed some promise this past weekend. He breaks the Indy to Indy slump, which essentially started on the eve of the day of the Indy 500, and he's been in a slump ever since. He's going to break it 2 in a row at the Brickyard. Xfinity, I'm going with Sheldon Creed.
That's a good pick.
Yep, those cars were faster last year. Truck, I'm going with Grennan. I always pick him.
That's also a good pick.
Yep. F1, I'm joining you. Lewis Hamilton. Can't not have him try one more time. IndyCar, it's between Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood, and I'm going to go Palou.
There you go.
We got him. So we have a ton of outreach from fans and such that we have to dive through. So bear with us. This could take about 10 minutes. Let's start with Spotify. I'm just going to rip through these. Jonathan Havey, civil engineer here, making a stroval is complicated, which I think he's talking about a street oval, but doable. Most roads are sloped at 2 to 3%, 1 to 3 degrees. They have 2 layers of asphalt and a thick layer of gravel. Racetracks are similar. Realistically, make the banked stroval. To make it work, NASCAR would need to repave / slope the roads to add banking, and after the race, tear up the asphalt layers, regrade the gravel, pave the road back to normal. Reach out if you have any more questions. We'll be happy to answer them. I was thinking a little less technical, like build a metal surface and then just pave across it and run around it. I don't know if that would work engineering-wise, but that's kind of what I was thinking. But he went all the way out.
You need to ask ChatGPT if that's possible.
It's probably not, but I thought so.
I was thinking even less than that. I'm okay with a flat track. I think they should use traction compound, PJ1, whatever they got to do to grip up the outside grooves. Make
Yeah,
it a
let's lay that
multi-lane
stuff
track.
down and see if we get with it some sort of environmental disaster.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
yeah, that's a good point. Imagine the cleanup after that. Oh my god, what am I thinking?
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. I've actually asked a couple times with that stuff laid down. I'm like, when are we gonna find out in like 15 or 20 years that breathing that stuff in underneath hot race cars probably wasn't the smartest thing?
That's a good one.
Joe, the golf pro, says listening to the left foot versus right foot braking preference. Can a driver be successful on ovals as a right foot brake guy? I think so, especially at ovals.
You can
Yeah,
ask Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, he was mentioned the other day when we were talking about right foot braking because there is a driver, by the way. I found this out at Dover. There's a driver who ran in the top 5 at Sonoma who learned to right foot brake on the sim, tried it in practice, and was not willing to say whether he used it or not in the race. But this is a young driver who has seen what SVG is doing and is putting it into practice. So there are drivers trying and changing their ways.
I think that you could, if you know who the driver is and you have access to SMT data, and if that driver has raced at Sonoma before, I think that you could figure out in the data if they ran right foot brake or not in the race.
I'll find out. Renee says, great show as always, fellas. Now I'm bummed that I never saw you at the rudder, PK. The rusty rudder, I'm guessing. YouTube,
What's
John.
up, Renee?
Yeah. Oh, wait a second.
Jeez, Parker.
Hey, wait.
Renee wants to meet up at the rudder.
I've gotten that text before. The girl in my early days. John Ray 7761. Let's see if FVG can win Sonoma. That was 2 weeks ago. Well, newsflash, he did. Billy Node, great show. Denny Hamlin also brought up your Roval experience. It appears he's taking his responsibility as your only listener very seriously. Thank you, Noah of Babylon. Alex the Lion says, you guys watch the V8 Supercars. I'm a massive F1 fan and have been since I was about 2 years old, but the racing in the supercars is absolutely next level. I agree with that. Aqua Booth 0397 says, please tell Landon he's looking like a young Steve Letarte. I think he means your brains.
All right.
Yeah.
Steve's a handsome guy too. I'll take that.
We got a email here. My YouTube handle is TBNVFM48. You might recognize me from the comments. I love the Money Lap, and I think Parker and Landon are absolutely the goats of racing shows, but I haven't seen a new video for 2 weeks. So in lieu of that forum, I'll comment here. Brett Griffin can go F himself. Parker, you're more qualified to comment on racing than most idiots out there. The struggles and successes you had are the equivalent of street cred of NASCAR. That goes for Landon as well. Success can only bring so much, but overcoming struggles is what makes a true sportsman. Anyone who doesn't get that and anyone who sees not winning in Cup as a weakness is clueless. They go on to say they've been watching NASCAR and IndyCar since they were 11 in 1997, and our perspective analysis on racing has been the most fun, interesting, perspective shifting I've ever experienced. Your passion and knowledge of racing is infectious, and anyone like that other person are losing out. Thanks for TV work at the booth and the pit road. Thank you for the Money Lap. Boom. All right,
You're
we
welcome.
appreciate that. We also have a voicemail. You want to take a listen?
That was, first of all, that was a very thoughtful letter.
Very
you.
thoughtful. I appreciate it.
TBN VFM 48. And the dude's our age, just loves race cars.
He does. That's awesome. We need more of him. So
yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you for being a great listener. And so when he reaches out, take a listen to this voicemail. Wait, I didn't play it in the right spot.
Do you know how to play a voicemail on?
Oh, I did learn. Hold on. I did. Oh, there it is.
Hey there, guys. It's the crazy M80 again. Longtime caller, first-time listener. Just wondering what your guys' opinion is on the best car to learn proper racing technique and develop driver skill, and why is it a Legends car? Anyway, that was it. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
It's a Legends car.
It's
He's
a Legends car.
absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
It is.
Also, if we're gonna do more of these,
if we can do more
of these voicemails, I need more like Midwestern and Canadian accents, because those voicemails are the best with Midwestern and Canadian accents. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Just thinking, I had a question. When you do a 2-day show,
We actually had one more email, but it's really long. It's
We'll
from
read it next
Caleb
week.
Blum.
Oh,
Well,
no.
I'm just going to paraphrase. He's a listener from the start. 5 stars. Keep it gritty and unpolished. We definitely have done that. He's 34 and he loves iRacing. He's been on there for 10 years. He doesn't find the time to race as much. Likes watching Twitch streams. He loves the in-car cams that NASCAR has on Max and found himself getting really into those. His girlfriend's 28. He's 34. Great job, my man. You're cringing. What else did he say? Hold on. He said she's getting into racing after watching Hocevar's onboard driving through the field at Atlanta a couple weeks ago. She was amazed at how much information you get. He knows NASCAR is targeting younger markets, and they might be missing out on an opportunity to attract a younger market or set the hook with the younger market. If they could somehow make the in-car broadcast have possibly a chat and maybe a team member adding some commentary, interacting with the chat, it'd be like watching a Twitch stream and making those watching feel like they are part of the team and in it to win it, just like kids do with these streamers. What are your thoughts? Is it bogus? How can we perfect this to make it work? That's actually a genius idea. Did you kind of
again?
So what he's saying is, I paraphrased a lot of it because it was long, but the gist of what he's getting into is that he's really fallen in love with iRacing, and then he's not racing as much, but he's watching Twitch streamers where he just watches people iRace, which you and I have done. And he's like, the other thing that got him into really, he's loved watching is those Max onboard cameras. And his girlfriend loved it too. And she fell in love with Carson Hocevar watching him drive to the field at Atlanta and thought it was so cool how much information they get. And he was like, basically, why wouldn't they add a chat to those and maybe even have like a team member who's interacting with them so that you're kind of like involved with the stream a little bit? Hell, why
that's
not
cool.
put the driver's radio under caution to it?
Oh, that's so cool. Just make it like a Twitch stream.
And tell the drivers that they're listening out there and have them say something under caution and such.
That would be cool if there was like a team host or something.
I think
Or
it's
if
a
it
good
just,
idea.
yeah, if there just was a chat.
And
you got
that's
a
a really good
moderator for
idea.
each one, and
Well, we know
that
all
would
the
be easy.
the NASCAR execs all listen to this, so your
That's a
idea has
great
been
idea.
heard. Yeah, it has been heard and it has been spread to the execs, Caleb. We'll see if they make it happen. Well, we mentioned at the top, we have no producer today. I have had to work all the tools, and with that, I never opened the green room. So Kyle Busch was not able to join. I apologize. Completely on me. I'm a complete idiot, as you can tell. I didn't even have the bottom ticker on until we were about 15 minutes into the show. Blame Josh. It's not our fault, but we have come back, and we'll hopefully be back next week. Thanks all for listening. Peace.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Money Lap. If you like this show, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Share it with friends. We want to spread the word of great motorsports shows, of which we're somewhere up and around there. I'm not exactly sure where, but nonetheless, you can also reach out to us anytime on across social media or at our website, themoneylap.com, or at our email, friends@themoneylap.com. And of course, you can always leave us a review. 5 stars gets you on this very show. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Goodbye.